Welcome to this episode of ISV Talks. I'm Carol Livingston from Dynamics Connections. And on this episode, I have two special guests from Journyx. Journyx is a time tracking solution for both projects and cost accounting, as well as payroll. So please join me as I welcome Brian and Ed. So welcome to this episode of ISV Talks, and I'm excited to have a panel from the company called Journyx, and I have Brian Maxim and Ed Squires. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Carol.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great to have you both. Go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us what your role is with Journyx and how long you've been there.
Yeah, I'll go first. So my name's Brian Maxon. I'm the Director of Sales here at Journyx. In November, I actually just had my 22nd year anniversary at Journyx. So
wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a really great company to work for.
Ed?
So, yeah, I joined Journyx in April of 2021. I am the founder of the Acumen product line, which is the CX product line. You'll hear a little bit more about that in the near future here, right in this video. And I am managing channels and partner programs. So there'll be some more to hear about that as well.
Great. Well, thank you both for joining today. So let's kind of start out with the name Journyx. That's kind of an interesting name. I'm just curious, how did you get your name for the company?
Yeah, it's an interesting name. And so to be clear, what everybody usually says is Journyx, right? And so it's a natural pronunciation of our company name, which it is Journyx. And our CEO, Kurt Finch, he's kind of like a developer by trade, right? When he started the company back in 1996, there wasn't a lot of telework going on at that point in time. And so what he meant to try to get across was something relatable to working out of the office, travel, journey. And so he came up with Journyx, and it's a pretty unique name out there in the marketplace for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's Journyx, not Journeyx.
It is Journyx,
Yeah.
That's right.
So let's kind of tell us the basic descriptions of your products that you have for Dynamics ERPs.
So we really have two lines of business. One line of business is more oriented around project-based time and expense tracking and resource planning. So predominantly for measuring your costs on projects, maybe billing for the services that you're delivering to a client, and some, time off tracking and limited time for payroll. About a year and a half ago, Journyx actually acquired Acumen Data Systems, which is more of a traditional sort of time and attendance, time for payroll type solution, which is our other line of business. So the first line of business, the products are called JX and PX. And then we've labeled the time and attendance solution CX, which Ed referred to previously in the meeting here. And so it really gives across all types of time tracking now, both project-based time tracking and sort of time and attendance, time for payroll.
Okay. I know you are compatible with Dynamics, of course, and the Dynamics product lines. Tell us what all you're compatible with as far as ERPs.
Sure. So within the Dynamics space, we're fully integrated with Business Central, with almost a Great Plains. It's going to age me in the space. GP, NAV, SL. And then in Q1 of next year is on our roadmap to also be fully integrated with F&O or finance and operations, or kind of whatever Microsoft is going to call it these days. So we'll have the gamut of the Dynamics ERPs covered. And then outside of the Dynamics space, we are also integrated with Sage Intacct and with NetSuite, and then a number of different payroll providers, anywhere from Primo Payday to ADP, Paychecks on the more on the time and attendance line of business.
Is there any particular industries that you work with or specialize in?
Yeah, I would say on the JX, or the time for project end of things, we're really big in pharma and biotech. engineering, R&D, a lot of professional services, right? As you can imagine, I think in our earlier discussion, Carol, you'd mentioned there's a lot of partners that actually use Journyx, right? And so they use it to track their implementation projects so that they can invoice the customers for that work, right? But we're also pretty big in the nonprofit space, and predominantly anybody that needs to track time on projects for billing, for cost accounting, for R&D tax credits, especially in the pharma or software development engineering side. And then I would say on the CX or the time and attendance, time for payroll side, we're really big in K-12. We're really big in manufacturing, distribution.
Nonprofits as well. There's a lot of hourly staff in some of the nonprofit organizations, some of the healthcare organizations, folks that run homes for those that need the support in the medical field and whatnot. So yeah, there's a number of cross-industry applications. Everybody has to get paid, right?
Yeah, it's always good to track the time so people can get paid. Yeah, and you kind of mentioned some industries too that made me think about the scheduling piece that you have.
We do, especially on the time and so really on both lines of business. On the time and attendance side of the house, the CX side, it's more of your sort of traditional scheduling, right? Brian's scheduled to work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, or an 890 schedule, or whatever the case may be. On the JX and PX side of the house, more the time on projects, we have a sort of a resource planning scheduling component where you're scheduling out resources on the work they're going to be doing in the future. So you can see resource availability, resource capacity planning, things like that.
So, and you can kind of see when someone's scheduled if they don't clock in or punch in on their time sheets or whatever, right? So it can kind of enforce that scheduling piece, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's all kinds on the CX side of the house. There's lots of exception-based reporting. So if people are late, people miss a punch, things like that, that scheduling component really comes into play there.
Also, too, I want to mention, you made me think about reporting. That's a big aspect of and dashboards and, connectors to APIs like Excel or Power BI. So how are those also part of your solution to help with time tracking?
Yeah, getting the data in is really great, but being able to report on it is pretty important, right? To your point. So we've got some native plugins for Excel that can extract data out. So you don't have to run a report and export it and reformat it. You can actually draw the data out of the database. We've got some API connection with tools like Power BI, other reporting, data warehousing type tools as well. Actually, Nils from Solver is on our advisory board at Journyx, and so we've got some integrations with their reporting platform as well. So a lot of API-based integrations with some data analytics tools, in addition to some of the native, just general dashboarding reports that are available directly within the application.
Maybe on the time tracking side, what methods do you use to do time tracking?
On the JX side, it's a web-based application. So predominantly, most of the people are in front of a computer that would use Journyx, the JX product. So it's a web-based application. There is also a mobile app that people can enter their time. Managers can approve the time through a mobile app in addition to the web interface. On the CX side, we've got, the web application, there's the mobile app, there's a variety of different hardware options from, clicking a button to click, clock in and out, to biometrics, fingerprint readers, facial recognition. There's IVR, so people can dial up on a telephone and clock in and out that way. So really, there's a lot of flexibility around the options that people have to collect that data.
Yeah, a lot of options. Do you have to use one of those time clock methods, or can you use several, like mobile plus the physical time clock? Or
Yeah, you can use a combination of all of those, if depending on the use case scenario and the needs of the workforce. But yeah, you're not sort of forced in or cornered into one of those options. You can spread those across. Nice.
I hear that a lot in questions that I hear from partners is, are there, can I use the web-based or the mobile option plus a time clock too? So yeah, there's definitely needs for those deskless workers, I guess.
People are spread out all over the place now, right? So giving them multiple options to collect the data makes it a lot easier to get it into the system.
Mm-hmm. And remotely approving too, right? Those reviewing those time cards remote, that's probably another factor, right?
It is. It makes it a lot easier. So, nobody really wants to fill out a timesheet, right? So the easier you can make it for everybody from entry to approval, the more accurate the data is going to be and the more timely it'll get back into the ERP or payroll system.
In terms of kind of looking out a little bit and just in terms of changes, especially over the last several years, what kind of changes have you seen, with partners in the Dynamics channel or customers?
Sure. Yeah. So we've probably been focused on the Dynamics space for close to 2 decades now, right? It's been a long time. And, back then, I think it was a little bit different. There was a lot more willingness to be sort of a reseller or white label partner. And what I've noticed over the past couple of years with all the changes going on with, say, Microsoft and consultants moving from one partner to another or partner consolidation even, is that, the consultants are so busy supporting their customers or trying to get people to move to the cloud or things like that, that it's hard to invest the time and effort it takes to really get up to speed with an ISV solution to the point where they're able to really resell it and support it. And so I'm seeing a bit of a transition from white label reseller to more of a referral type relationship. Matter of fact, we've been partners with Winsoft/Kedak, depending on how long you've been in the channel, for many years now. And because of some of the reasons I've mentioned there, they've actually asked us over the past year to kind of switch our relationship from a white label to more of a referral type relationship. And I think it really comes back to there's some core competencies that they're trying to focus on within their business, right? And trying to learn and navigate and sell and support all these ISP products is becoming more and more difficult. And so, yeah, that's kind of one of the major changes I've noticed over the past 12 to 18 months is sort of going back over now to a referral type model from a sort of a true reseller of different products.
With that in mind, we're talking about a refresh of that partner program focused towards that end where stay tuned, there'll be better margins for those that are getting referral business.
Yeah, I mean, so we're certainly happy to support the level of partnership that anybody would like to entertain, whether it be from white label to reseller to referral. And certainly, I'm sure everybody in the industry, in our ecosystem understands this, but, if you're a white label partner or reseller partner, there's higher margins and recurring revenue associated with that. So that's the other side of the coin. Is everybody's obviously interested in recurring revenues these days. So if they see enough demand, if they've got the calories, I'll call them, to invest in becoming a reseller, there's certainly an opportunity there for another recurring revenue channel for them.
Yeah, I do think you're right about kind of people are really busy at the partners. I hear that they're very busy with new implementations or upgrades. So yeah, they probably just don't have the resources or the time to invest in learning some new solutions. So you guys can be there at this point. And if they want to resell their own services, they can do that as well. How about on the customer side? I think about customers that are on the journey to the cloud, or even just trying to improve their operational efficiencies if they're on a legacy system, just trying to do better with the investments they already have. What are you seeing on that side?
Yeah, so I mean, Journyx has offered our system in the cloud for probably at least 15 years, right? So we've been a cloud-based solution. We had some on-premise, quite a big presence. Maybe when I started here, though, that was 22 years ago. It was probably 80% on-premise and 20% cloud. And, that's obviously taken a big change the other direction, right? Where most solution providers are going cloud. Again, getting back to that recurring revenue model that everybody's fond of. So to be able to help support people into that journey, moving into the cloud, we've made it really easy with our integration solutions with the different Dynamics ERPs to be cloud to cloud. We have come up with a model of professional services as a service. And so instead of having to pay, let's say for a 20-hour engagement with a flat hourly rate, either upfront or, continued billing, we're offering our professional services on a subscription model, which usually kind of aligns with that cloud-based approach. On the CX side of the house, we've also introduced our hardware as a service, or clocks as a service, as we call it, where instead of having to buy and make a big investment in, say, 50 time clocks, you can do a subscription type model, which would align with the cloud-based model. And it's a lot easier to be able to, swap out defective clocks as opposed to getting them fixed or to getting parts changed. So we've got the subscription-based model for selling hardware as well. So in combination with clocks as a service and professional services as a service, it really aligns with that cloud-based subscription model around recurring revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and customers like that because they kind of know what their operation expense is going to be month to month. That's always a good thing.
A little easier on cash too, right? Cash is kind of king right now in a potential recessionary period. Not having to come up with a big, huge upfront investment in, say, 50 to 100 time clocks is a nice option to have.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about customers, so do you have a story of a customer that maybe has been successful with your product and how you help them overcome some challenges?
Yeah. So we got the customer I was thinking about. To Muscatine Power and Water, and they're based out of right around Ames, Iowa. Muscatine, they did everything on paper timesheets, and they had a group of like 7 to 8 people that would spend their whole week collecting paper timesheets, chasing down paper timesheets, trying to combine all that data for reporting, for project cost accounting, overtime calculations. Then they would manually enter that data into GP. And if you can just think about the internal cost of a team of 7 or 8 people trying to manually collect, consolidate, calculate, data entry, and then you've got just the natural human error element involved with data entry and calculations, right? So what they've told us is what would go from having, they would be right up against it. They would have to get payroll in, right away because it would take them all week to do this process. And so we've reduced that down from a week of processing down into a day. And they think the ROI on our system is like 2 to 3 months max. And so it's a pretty exciting story. They've got probably about 250 employees out in the field, which is kind of like our sweet spot. We're sort of mid-market, 100 employee to maybe 2,000, which I think is right in line with some of the Dynamics ERPs. But yeah, it's really, really cool story, just to be able to help a company find those types of efficiencies. I'm sure there's so many other things those people at Muscatine could be doing with their time on that team instead of processing manual timesheets. And so it's exciting to build up that partnership with that customer that way because it's a really good success story.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. What are some of the new things that you're looking to introduce and add value, like helping those customers to the cloud? Like, kind of give us a sneak peek on any future plans or thoughts?
Certainly very cloud centric. And so I would say, other than what we talked about already, that the things that we're trying to be really easy to work with from a partner's perspective when their customers are trying to maybe migrate from an on-premise version of Dynamics ERP to something that's in the cloud. And having the technology in place around cloud-to-cloud based integration already there so that when somebody's ready to transition, we're not kind of recreating the wheel. And so combining the technology with the 2 additional new offerings that we have around clocks as a service and professional services as a service, I think is really going to help with that transition as people try to I mean, I know some of the GP customers are never going to get off GP. Right? It's just, it works for them. They've been using it for 20 years. But as people do start making that journey to the cloud-based ERPs from Microsoft, I think we're going to be able to help them be more successful with that journey than they would have been otherwise.
Yeah, but even if they migrate to another cloud-based ERP, it sounds like you're in those spaces as well. So
yeah, whether it be Sage Intacct or NetSuite, for sure.
So are you seeing any new trends on the horizon?
The trend that we've been seeing lately is really the uncertainty in the economy. All right. And so nobody really knows what's happening. We think a recession's either here or it's coming here. We don't know how deep it's going to be. And the inflation rate is super high, right? And so what we're hearing from both customers and partners is that probably more than ever, people are really concerned with understanding where their costs are. Where are my people spending their time? Are they on things that are good for the business? Are we controlling overtime? Because labor cost is a huge component around profitability calculation for organizations. And so, probably, I won't say more than ever, because there have been other recessions in the long time that I've been here at Journyx, but it's been even more and more important to understand what people are doing, how much time they're doing it, what my costs are, what's my overtime rates. And, obviously time tracking is a big component of that, whether it be time on projects or time in attendance for payroll. It's probably more important now than in a long time to have a system like Journyx that's fully integrated with your ERP and payroll provider so that you can really make the best decisions for your company in sort of these uncertain times with the economy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of changes in the workforce right now because of the uncertainties around the economy. A lot of people are losing their jobs, right? And so we actually take a lot of pride in informing customers on costs upfront so that maybe they don't have to go do a big sweeping round of layoffs if they can better understand truly the value that people are providing and the cost associated with the business. It might help people save a few jobs out there. Ed, I don't know if you have anything else that you might want to add in there.
In the case of partners, typically when times of uncertainty or recession, and I'm not trying to say that time and attendance or time tracking is recession proof, but certainly when you're selling in a sense that you need to sell a product that is going to have some longevity and help you secure your business with your customer, time tracking is certainly it. We have a partner program that is centric to the partner, and there are some improvements in that partner program. Communicating with the partner is important to us, as well as being able to give them the appropriate margins that they're going to need. So we're here to help, and we'll look forward to entertaining some of those relationships.
So any last thoughts that you'd like to share?
I guess last thoughts from my side, we definitely have gone through some internal discussions about revamping our partner program, better communication, making it easier to work with Journyx, better margins for partners, depending on where they fall into the spectrum of white label, reseller, referral type programs. So yeah, excited about the opportunity to continue to build relationships with our contacts out there in the partner ecosystem and even starting new relationships with new partners like Primo Payday. It's exciting.
We're going to have another ISV Talks with our friends at Primo Payday with the Journyx team. I'm excited about that coming up here soon. So I'll be looking for that video as well on our channel. Thank you both, Brian and Ed, for joining us today on ISV Talks and sharing a little bit more about Journyx and the products that you have and time tracking and time and attendance. It was really a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Really enjoy Dynamics Connections. So thanks again, Carol.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.